Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee with Craig, where we talk about all things firearms policy, politics, culture, media, you name it. We're talking about it right here on Coffee with Craig. So please take a moment, like and share the program so that your friends can know where the conversation is taking place. Also, please take a moment and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. In the case of YouTube and Facebook, make sure you hit those notification buttons. That way you'll be notified as soon as we go live, and you can participate in the live chat as the program is taking place. Also, please visit fpcgear.com. That's fpcgear.com. It is the place to go to get all of your Pro 2A swag. I'm talking t-shirts, coffee mugs, tank tops, you name it. We've got it all there, right there for you. And the best part about it is every dollar that you spend goes right back into the fight for our right to keep and bear arms. So you can support the Second Amendment and you can look good doing it. That's fpcgear.com. All right, those of you who've been watching this program for any period of time, you know that we've laid out the case more than once about the foundation of what gun control is all about. And let's be honest, gun control, as it started off, was largely about making sure that those people, specifically minorities, were not allowed to have or own or possess or utilize firearms and ammunition. That was the initial roots of it. It's really about subjugating people. I mean, now, quite frankly, all of us are those people. All of us law-abiding citizens. But I don't think there's little doubt that there are quite frankly, just racist roots when it comes to gun control. But now that they've gotten to a point where, we have to be very, very careful in PC, and we have to make sure that as we subjugate people that we're not like overt in our racism. Let's now start organizations and nonprofits, and let's start a messaging campaign that, once again, is all about making sure that we disarm people of color. Well, there's a group out there that is called the People for a Safer Society. It's a nonprofit organization in the state of Illinois. And this is an organization that is engaging on an information campaign that surrounds one thing, and that is confiscation of firearms by those who are black and brown. And they're utilizing, as their primary tool, extreme risk protection orders or red flag laws. In other words, they're going out of their way to educate people on how to disarm black and brown people when it comes to, by utilizing red flag laws. Here's a copy of an article, or some quotes out of an article that was written by one of the organizers or one of the leaders of this particular organization. Let's read it. It says, black and brown people have long been disproportionately plagued by gun violence. This isn't news, but the situation has worsened considerably since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, what this individual is referring to is, and I think we all know this, urban inner cities, and in particular, we know that those who are more likely to be shot happen to be young black and brown males. Once again, disproportionate. And by the way, they also happen to be more often shot by young black and brown males. That's not racist. I'm just pointing out what the statistics are. Just like, whites are more likely to be killed by whites. Blacks are more likely to be killed by blacks. Latinos are more likely to be killed by Latinos. There's nothing new about that. But for some reason, what they're pointing out is that because of COVID-19, well, this is even worse. To a degree, well, they're right. They're right in that since the COVID-19, since the riots began, there has been an increase in gun violence, largely in urban inner city communities. There's no doubt about that. But once again, they're claiming that they tend to be victims of this. Well, they also tend to more likely be perpetrators. Once again, not being racist, just pointing out the statistics of what we know. But they're utilizing this, so they're laying this out there as a way in which to argue for gun control. And here it is right here. All right. Illinois is one of 19 states to have a law like this, and they're referring to red flag laws, sometimes called extreme risk protection orders or red flag laws. Some individuals in crisis and at risk of harming themselves or others may not be prohibited from purchasing a firearm from purchasing or possessing a firearm because they haven't been convicted of a prohibitory crime, they are not subject to a domestic violence restraining order, or they don't meet the criteria for an involuntary involuntary hospitalization, civil commitment for mental health treatment, or if they do, family members are hesitant to commit their loved ones. Now, here's why this is important. What they're saying is this, is that people may be in crisis, right? Now, what they're pointing to is this. Now, by the way, most of the gun violence or violence involving firearms, most of that's being perpetrated is not by people who are in crisis. These are by individuals who are seeking to do harm to other individuals. It's not a mental health issue. They're not in crisis. They're just bad people. Let's just be clear about this. But what they're hoping to do is they're hoping to encourage, think about this, they're hoping to encourage people, friends and family members of those individuals who are black and brown, people of color, whatever terminology you want to use. They're hoping and they're trying to encourage people to take their guns, to go to court and have their firearms taken away. Not just their firearms, but they want to have their right to own or possess, current and future rights taken away via these laws. Don't believe me? Let's continue with the story. A FRO, firearms restraining order, offers family members and law enforcement a judicial pathway for temporarily removing firearm and prohibiting future gun purchases. See, their whole goal is this, is number one, and they already laid this out. These are people who've committed no crime. All right? They've done nothing illegal. They have not been deemed by the court or by a mental health professional to be a danger to themselves or others. Right? It is simply a way in which to get people to be disarmed. And that's really all it is. And that's all this organization is really advocating is, hey, gun violence is up. We have to find a way to take guns out of the hands of people of color so that they won't shoot anybody. That is what this organization, People for a Safer Society, that's what their fundamental goals. In fact, that's what gun grabbers are all about, except they don't just want to target people of color. They want to take guns out of the hands of all individuals, except for some reason the criminals. Because we all know the criminals are, in fact, the ones who, by the way, won't be hampered by this at all because they don't buy their gun. They don't get their guns through legal means. So why would this prevent them from being able to purchase firearms? Now, or purchase or possess firearms. Now, the interesting thing is most of these things and most of these shootings take place in areas that have very, very strict gun laws. Places like Chicago, places like Los Angeles, places like Oakland. These are all cities that have very, very strict gun laws, but yet for some reason, there's still an increasing amount of gun violence. New York, great example. Another great example. But folks, here's the thing, and this is their tools is always this. It's divide and conquer. See, some of you out there are watching and you're thinking, well, I'm not a young black male, so why do I care? What's the big deal? Some of you were thinking, some of you who don't own a gun, a lot of people out there are thinking, well, why do I care if they take guns away from people because I don't own a gun? If you have that attitude, you're probably not watching this show, but there are people out there who think that. So the key is that this whole thing is about divide and conquer. Once they are able to take some rights from some people, that eventually escalates until they eventually get to the point where they're able to take away all rights from all people, except those special people that are, people who they deem to be special. Now, FPC, our rights are all rights all the time. We believe that all the rights are intertwined. And if you allow someone to take away the one fundamental right that defends all the others, well, then you've opened up the door to full-blown tyranny. So, the worst part is that the thing that's most insidious about this is a group that's trying to get us to do it to ourselves. And that's where the real war is. The real war right now is not about they're not coming after us physically to take our guns, at least not en masse. What they're trying to do is they're trying to get us to go after each other. First, they tried to get us to give them up ourselves. Then they're trying to get us as citizens to take them away from each other. And then once that has started to take hold, then you start to see the government then decide, well, we're just going to come after them and take them. And I got a feeling, maybe it's just me, but I got a feeling that there are a number of you out there, well, you're not having that. Just saying. Anyway, folks, thought you'd find this interesting. I found it interesting. But once again, I think it's just another step in the direction. Another thing that we need to fight against is the information war. And exactly how things like red flag laws are being used to take away our fundamental rights. Anyway, folks, that's going to be it for today's Coffee with Craig. We very much appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing the program and telling your friends about the Firearms Policy Coalition. We are the home in the fight for civil rights. Got to use them or you're going to lose them. You guys take care.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.